Good afternoon, Ryan Willard here, Director of TTHS Architects and host of the Business of Architecture UK, having a lovely afternoon contemplative stroll in the park at the moment, just right around the corner from my office. The weather is nice, so I figured I'd come out and stimulate the creative synaptic connections in my mind and allow some ideas to connect. And I wanted to talk about, I had a really interesting conversation the other day with a copywriter and I was kind of explaining to him in many ways how the architectural profession has kind of, a lot of the constraints that architects might face with their marketing and their businesses, and these are things that I've experienced myself in my own business, and also the kind of deep cultural and mindset constraints, which are actually a lot more insidious and difficult to deal with because a lot of people don't actually believe that they exist. So that is a big, it's very difficult to address those types of things. And from my perspective, a lot of the mindset or the culture, which is perhaps business averse, and this is not just limited to architecture, many creative professions do view the commercialisation of any kind of art as being a negative impact to the production and the quality of the art. And they're right. In many instances, there is a huge amount of evidence to suggest that. However, there is also an enormous amount of evidence to be on the contrary to that. There are many successful artists and people who are able to fulfill on the economics and the business part in order to create wonderful art, and not being financially remunerated for your creative work means that you can't create any creative work. And there are plenty fantastic world-class musicians, for example, on the streets who do not have albums recorded, who do not have music that is able to be heard by that many people. It does not have much reach. It does not produce anything. And that is an engagement with marketing and messaging and communicating and whatever it is that needs to go through that area of discomfort to effectively sell your products, your wares, your music, your creativity, your architecture. So I was explaining this kind of cultural mindset that exists, and he was like, really? People have that kind of aversion to it? And I was like, yeah. And he said, well, that's quite interesting. It sounds like architects are late to the party in many aspects, which I chuckled and was like, well, unfortunately, in many cases that can be the case when we are not embracing the being of an entrepreneur or marketeer or a salesperson, and all the sort of trash that we have that comes around what we think that is compared to actually what it is in its depth of being a communicator. It ends up constraining businesses, suffocating creativity. I then spoke to another marketeer about this same sort of topic, and he said it's not, and he's got a very deep understanding of the architectural world, and he said it's not that architects are late to the party. They haven't even ordered the Uber yet. They're still waiting at home. They didn't even realise there is a party that's happening. Again, very amusing anecdote, but reasserts the kind of work that we need to be able to do with our own businesses, our own practices, and also the deep integration of marketing, sales, entrepreneurship, finance, money as a lifelong committed learning, and how we deeply weave that into our creative processes and creative thinking in architecture and design. I've said many times before, I think architecture is the processes that we use to create architecture is very entrepreneurial. It's propositional. We come up with ideas, we test them, we go around in iterative loops, we see what works, what doesn't work. In marketing and entrepreneurship, we do exactly the same thing, and we need an awareness of feedback from the audience, our market, our customers, telling us whether this is a product that can be bought or sold. So, architecture and entrepreneurship, my two favourite things in the world. I will continue to document these thoughts for you. See you later.